is the moment we've all been waiting for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to another episode of Chokeslam Wrestling Report. I'm your host, the infamous Ultimate One. Today, we're going to go straight to talk about last night's AEW Dynamite Go Home show. And let me tell you, this Go Home show was pretty decent. Nothing that we're going to be like, oh my God, it was awesome, whatever. I think they could have done a little bit better. Of course, the show started with Will Ospreay giving his thoughts and his feelings to the Scotland crowd since they were in Scotland. But the main show, let me tell you something. The main show itself was the Continental Cup semifinal matches, the Moxley title situation that I feel like, for 2 weeks, he has escaped. And the Christian Cage and the Young Buck situation where we saw the trigger, we'll put it this way, the trigger was pulled yesterday. And also Mercedes and Willow and Swerve versus Jack Perry. We're all going to cover all that, but let's talk about the Jon Moxley versus Castognoli match. Now, again, I think this was the best match of the night. These two, they know each other. They are, pretty much, part of the Death Riders, and they train together and everything. But let me tell you something. Claudio Castognoli came close to beating Jon Moxley. This is the second week in a row that Jon Moxley escapes the Continental, Cup Challenge. Because last week he was in there with Jay White, and Jay White nearly beat him and whatnot. Came close. And now the question is for All In, is Moxley starting to look vulnerable? You know what I'm saying? He started to look vulnerable. And how much longer can he survive these matches? Because now they're already the challenge, the final match is already set for All In. And we're going to talk about that. But my point is he's starting to look vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? He gets in there with the ring with people that could go toe to toe as far as, brawling, wrestling techniques, mat wrestling. And let me tell you, Claudio, it was everything in there. Claudio could have won that match. You know what I'm saying? But again, the question is, does Castognoli deserve more credit for pushing Moxley? I believe so. He did push Moxley, but Jay White last week pushed him. And again, 2 weeks in a row when my man came this close to getting pinned and whatnot. And losing, because if he would have lost, that means he's no longer the Continental Champion. So he's been having this belt since he won it back in the Continental Classic back in December. He's been having this belt for 8 months already. So I believe that something's going to happen, and, where he may lose the belt. I mean, it's already been, I've been saying it for weeks that I feel like he's not going to be no longer the Death Riders leader soon. I think David Finlay is going to take over that. I don't know. I just feel it, whatever. And the question is Moxley wrestling like a champion? Who is dominating, or a champion who is barely surviving? He doesn't look like a dominating champion anymore. He looks like he's barely in this cup. He looks like he's been surviving. He's swimming with the sharks. Even though Moxley's always been in there, he always swings with the shark. He ain't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? But again, Moxley keeps winning, but he's starting to look beatable. And that's exactly what makes the Continental Cup interesting, because he's putting that belt on the line, and he got to make sure that he does not lose. Because if he loses, the belt's gone. He's no longer champion, whether who wins the final. He's no longer the champion. You know what I'm saying? And he's been holding on to this belt for the last 8 months, which is, something, to, keep in mind that usually wrestlers, I think the last guy who held the belt for almost a year was Okada with the, I believe, the Continental title. He's the longest reigning Continental champion with that belt. You know what I'm saying? So, and Moxley was the one who took the belt away from him. So, I mean, in a way, it's good to have, wrestlers holding a belt for more than 3 months, because that's what it looks like. Most of the time, they AEW or WWE, wrestlers don't hold the belt for more than 3 months. Usually, I mean, the other promotion just takes it within 9 days, but we're not going to be talking about that. You know what I'm saying? But, well, Moxley right now looks beatable. And that is the big, big question right now. Is he going to be able to survive at All In to whoever his opponent will be? And we're going to get to that, and we're going to tell you who his opponent is going to be. But you got to stay tuned. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, he fought his ass off. And Castognoli was very, very close to beating him. Castognoli is no joke. This guy is former Ring of Honor World Champion, I believe twice already. Trios champion. He has in his resume outside of AEW. He's not, this is a guy who the other company didn't take advantage of. You know what I'm saying? So it's it's very interesting. Then we had the situation with Christian Cage, the Young Bucks, and Adam Copeland. Now, the Young Bucks teamed up with Copeland and whatnot, in a 6-man tag against the Don Callis family. And after the match was the biggest issue. I mean, I was surprised to see Edge team up, or Adam Copeland, let me correct that, team up with the Young Bucks and whatnot. But it was what happened afterwards, after the match. You know what I'm saying? And before that, anyway, there was almost again a near accidental super kick involving Copeland by the Young Bucks. And luckily that they held themselves back. If this would have happened, and then we would have had another situation, because a couple of weeks ago it happened, and this at that time was Christian Cage taking the brunt of that super kick. You know what I'm saying? So, despite the tension, they managed to work together and win. But Christian Cage appeared after the match. And Cage pretty much said a line that made so much sense. He said that yes, the Young Bucks have done a lot of things and whatnot, and they've been the trendsetter in this modern day era, but Cage saying that there are matches named after him and Copeland, and pay-per-views after him and Copeland, which is true, because TLC, they were the originators of that. And back then in the early, I think it was even the Attitude Era. It was Edge, Christian. At that time, Edge was Adam Copeland, Edge. Then you had the Dudley Boys, and then you had the Hardy Boys. So they're known for that TLC, even though they cannot use TLC in AEW, but they're known for that. They call it. I think they call it the stairways to hell. But then he told them matches and pay-per-views are named after them. And then all of a sudden, I guess Matt Jackson did not like that and whatnot, and his feelings got hurt. And Cage came out of nowhere and kicked him in the nuts. And that's when Nick Jackson ended up super kicking Christian. And because he did that, we saw Copeland spearing Nick. And this is because the last couple of weeks between these two teams, it's been back and forth type of thing. But you notice that Christian Cage keeps telling Adam Copeland, you keep trusting these people. So is this setting up another Christian Cage versus Adam Copeland again? Because if you think about it, right? If you think about it, we could see, because Adam Copeland is supposed to retire in October. He might have his last match against Christian Cage. What's up, OPC? What's up, Papa? Thank you for coming through. Tu siempre, tu sabes. Mucho cariño, brother. So, you look at it, there could be, a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? And are the Young Bucks becoming caught between Christian and Copeland? That is the question. And I will give you my prediction between that match on Saturday. We're going to do the AEW All In London predictions. So I'm going to tell you what I think of that match. But this is, in the setting of this is pretty good, but you got to listen to some of the promos that some of these wrestlers say, because Christian Cage has said it twice. You keep trusting these people. So basically, something's gonna happen, and they probably, they probably break up again, and then we'll have probably Adam Copeland wrestle Christian Cage for the last time in Wrestle Dreams. You know what I'm saying? That could happen. Then we had the again, and this is something that I'm thinking about in Mercedes Moné attacking Willow again. You know what I'm saying? And Mercedes keeps targeting Willow because she knows that Willow has her number. This time she went after her hand and whatnot. And what? And Willow's gonna end up getting her revenge some way, somehow. But wouldn't it have been crazy if Mercedes doing all this and she still don't beat Willow on All In? And let's not forget what Mercedes Moné did to someone who used to be the world champion and whatnot about 3 weeks ago. And that was Tekla. She attacked Tekla from behind and whatnot. And then Tekla ended up losing the belt to Willow. And you haven't seen Tekla at all. Tekla has been in Japan, to be honest. But who's to say that Tekla may not get involved and cost Mercedes the title because Mercedes attacked her? You know what I'm saying? And whatnot. They could use the storyline where Tekla still felt the effects from that attack. You know what I'm saying? So there's still possible. I don't see, honestly, I don't see Mercedes winning the title. That's just me, because the continuation of her getting jumped every other week by Mercedes always attacking her. And it seems that, it seems like, this is usually when we see stuff like that, right? When a contender continues attacking the champion usually holds on to the belt. You know what I'm saying? They usually hold on to the belt, but we'll see. We'll see. Then we had the MJF and Andrade situation. This is getting good because if anything, before this happened, we saw Mark Davis. I'm gonna go through this because Mark Davis is looking to get. He's gonna be in the Casino Gaunlet, and what he's looking to be the next world champion. He wants to be the next challenger. So they started with that, but then they went into the MJFs and Andrade situation. First, you had the Andrade's music come out. You know what I'm saying? It came out, but then all of a sudden MJF came out, and of course MJF comes out, starts talking about the people in Scotland and about how Andrade is not a real man, he's not a Latino man, blah, blah, blah. And then he went straight into the part where he's like talking about the females there. And he said, he will not take pictures with another female. There's no good looking females. But then he kept talking about, about Andrade's, and Andrade's ended up coming out telling him, how do you know? And then he got beaten down by Andrade and whatnot. What does this mean for MJF? And is Andrade become a serious threat to MJF? I believe he does. I don't think any of these two guys come out probably number one contenders for the AEW World Title, because I still see that MJF is walking around with that world title. This is a Will Ospreay move, and I say that because Will Ospreay did the same thing back in Japan when he was walking around with the New Japan New Japan World Title around him. You know what I'm saying? The IWGP belt going everywhere where they're saying he was the true champion. Meanwhile, somebody else had that belt. So this is a page out of New Japan when Ospreay did this back in 2021 and 2022. So and you know what? As long as MJF is still in the picture and doing what he does best, there should be no problems at all and whatnot. So, but not much came out of that, but it is what it is, and then also they mentioned that, as a matter of fact, Chris Jericho came out and he said he's entering the Casino Gauntlet. I think he has a 6-man tag coming up on Collision, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that Chris Jericho is going to be there. It's part of the All Elite Wrestling, All In show, and so of course Jericho's going to be there somewhere, somehow. You know what I'm saying? And whatnot. So he's entering the gauntlet and whatnot. And, why his involvement matters is because, like I said, he is part of the AEW, the rise of AEW. Of course, it's going to be in a big show. He's not going to, regardless of even if it's, I don't know, doing some segment or whatever the hell, he's going to be in it. You know what I'm saying? And, could Jericho steal the opportunity? Probably. But I don't want, do you want to see Jericho having a title shot, world title, winning the Casino Gaunlet? That's the only thing he hasn't won yet, and it's AEW using the Casino Gaunlet to create surprise challengers. Of course, that's the Casino Gaunlet was. It's the fun part of it is that they do these type of things for, for excitement. You know what I'm saying? For you don't know who's going to come out, so. Of course, the Casino Gauntlet is not a tag team Casino Gauntlet, but I would have made a bold prediction, to be honest, for a tag team gauntlet. Yeah, I believe somebody's coming in AEW on Sunday, and when that's going to be a surprise. But everybody's talking about it, so I don't think it's much of a surprise. And who do I think is going to win the gauntlet? Well, you're going to have to find out Saturday when I do my predictions and whatnot. And I got to find out who are in the gauntlet because Then they had the O'Reilly versus Kyle O'Reilly versus Nigel McGuiness. Now, there was word going around because they say the only reason they're pushing Nigel McGuiness is because they're doing it in London. And, and not only that, also, I think Moxley laughed and Nigel McGuiness saying, are you part of the, of the tournament? And as we've seen, Nigel McGuiness has been wrestling with a bad foot. And that's when he went, he tried to block a PK from Shibata and he got hurt. And last night, we saw Kyle O'Reilly trying to get, pretty much, trying to get, submission moves on McGuinness' leg, but McGuiness found a way to reach the ropes and somewhere, somehow, But we saw McGuinness ending up tapping Kyle O'Reilly. Now, I would have rather see Kyle O'Reilly another, fourth match with Moxley for the Continental title. I would have loved to see that because those guys, when they're in that ring, it's another story. These guys go at it, and it's a great match. You know what I'm saying? But, McGuinness winning this match, advancing to the final, makes it now the question, is he going to be the one who's going to beat Jon Moxley for the Continental title in his country? And if he doesn't, does he retire? That is the question. You know what I'm saying? So McGuinness advancing to the final, to me, is a surprise because I didn't put 1 and 1 together, but I figure now I know why they're doing it, And McGuinness has been around for years. This guy was a master in Ring of Honor. You see a lot of his matches against Daniel Bryan. Those matches were classic. The guy's been around forever. You know what I'm saying? Even though he was out for wrestling for quite a while, but can't ask for nothing better than that. And the question, how will McGuinness match up against Moxley? Now, Moxley, he's a brawler, and Moxley could go toe-to-toe when it comes to submission moves. But I have a feeling that maybe Moxley may end up losing the belt to McGuinness, but it all depends if Moxley don't target that foot and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And, is McGuinness the perfect opponent to expose Moxley's weakness? Yes. And like I said in the beginning, Moxley has escaped a couple of times, a couple of matches, which he should have lost, but he hasn't. So, you know what I'm saying? So we'll see. Again, after surviving 2 straight weeks, can Moxley survive the final against McGuinness? You know what I'm saying? The Kyle Fletcher and Okada situation, says that, Kyle Fletcher says they're going to run the play, which means that the Don Callis family and whatever already has a plan between Okada and Fletcher to stop Castognoli from winning the belt, AEW, the international belt again. But Fletcher looks like he's nervous. His confidence doesn't look like that he usually. He's something tells him that he does not trust Okada. And of course, the question is whether Okada agrees with the plan. And Okada kept saying, we're a family. We're here to win. Well, whoever wins is still keeping the belt in the family. Yeah. And it looks like there's tension between Fletcher and Okada. And is Pleasure trying to manipulate Okada? You know what I'm saying? That is a lot. Listen, there's a lot of questions of that. It's going to be a dope match. I'm going to tell you right now. Okada, Takeshita, and Fletcher. Think about the star power in that ring in a three-way for the international AEW international title. These are the two of them are future of the company. The third one, Okada, is a legend in New Japan. He's a legend in AEW. He's the longest Continental Champion. What's the longest Continental Champion? So this pretty much tells you that this could go either way. But if these two, Fletcher and Okada, gets too involving between them, then Takeshita could win the belt. But we'll see. Again, we'll see. Then we have Persophone teaming up with Divine Dominion against Maya World and the Brawling Birds. And they're not pushing the Brawling Birds like they're supposed to against the Divine Dominion, but they are pushing Persophone because Persophone ended up pinning Maya World. You know what I'm saying? Pinning Maya World now makes that the CMML World Champion, Women's Champion, now gets a shot at the TBS title. You know what I'm saying? And first of all, the only way Persophone was able to win last night was because she used the CMML World title to pin Maya World. But she became the number one contender because if you beat the champion, you become the number one contender automatically. TBS Championship. And is Persophone ready for the next level? I mean, I don't even have to ask that stupid question because Persophone could go to any level. The girl's fucking good. She's good. You know what I'm saying? And right now, Persophone right now is the number one contender for that title. And so, you know, they're probably going to go at it. Who knows? They'll probably wrestle at All In. It'd be one of the matches. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, because Tony Khan is known to pull like 13 matches in All In pay-per-views. So, you know what I'm saying? So then we had the story of Strickland versus Jack Perry. I don't really know why this match happened. It was a great match, though. You know, the match quality, these guys going at it. I think that was the first time they ever wrestled each other. Swerves looks good. He looked like he's on point. You know what I'm saying? Jack Perry also. I think Jack Perry, as of late, they doing the same thing they were doing to him before he became a heel and whatnot. So, you know, it's crazy and whatnot. So, but I figured Swerve was gonna win that match. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, as far as Swerve getting close to the world title, I don't think so. I think now they're pushing him to the trios title. They're gonna put a belt around him. Now the question is who's gonna be his team that's gonna join him at All In. The rumor is it's gonna be New Day. They'll be the team that's gonna join Swerve. If it's not New Day, who it is? It could be the Hurt Business. I mean, it could be that. You know, something's gonna give. You know what I'm saying? And again, you know, did Jack Perry lose anything from this defeat? Kind of, because it backs him off. I mean, even though he was the former national champion, he won belts already in AEW, but doesn't push him to the world title. Which I mean, I don't see him going after the world title, but doesn't push him for the TBS, the national title. I mean, he was the thing with the inaugural was Ricochet, but anyway. So, but we'll see. I mean, and could this eventually lead to another major Swerve storyline with this whole thing coming up on Sunday with him? I think he's going to win the Trios title. And if it's New Day or the Hurt Syndicate, one of those. But I think I'm just leaning more to the New Day. But we're going to be talking more about this on Saturday when I do my predictions and whatnot. And I believe, you know, we'll see. We'll see. You know, so again, Moxley escaped again with the Continental Classic. We'll see what happens again. You know, we'll see. we'll see what happens. So that is it for me today, guys, on the AEW Dynamite Go Home Show and recap. Let me know what you think about this, the situations that you saw this week. They didn't do much. The one thing I know, they didn't do much with the Osprey and Kenny Omega, and they were like Kenny Omega was even in Scotland. So that's like 2 times that we've seen AEW in another country and Omega doesn't make it. I can see Omega probably, I don't know, maybe he'll lose the belt and whatnot. Who knows? And then there rumors going around that looks like the Young Bucks contract is coming up to an end, and it looks like Matt Jackson is thinking of retiring. So the Young Bucks may not be around anymore. So my point is, if they win the belts, how long will they have the belts before they retire? We'll see what happens. Till then, guys, thank you very much for supporting the podcast. If you guys want to follow me, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, the X, of course, the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers. 3,000 subscribers. Support the podcast. Share this with your friends and whatnot. And remember, we are part of the Debate Network and whatnot. We're part of the Circle of Debate. We are on every single night on the watch-alongs that they have. Mondays, they have the live Raw watch-along. Then on Tuesday is NXT. Wednesday is AEW Dynamite. Thursday, TNA Impact. Friday, SmackDown. And then Saturday, they usually do the Collision, or they watch the AAA wrestling. So they're always on. So support the Circle of Debate, support us, support my podcast, the Chokeslam Wrestling Report. I will be back Saturday with the AEW Dynamite All In London prediction. So till then, guys, be safe. Once again, thank you for supporting the podcast, and I'll see you guys next week.